special branch an MI6 officer and the author of Black Ops.
I was undercover for special grant in a jihadi organisation.
If you'd like to help Carlton keep producing the Black Spy podcast and receive episodes and information that's only available to Carlton's special Patreon agents, then you can donate as little as £3, €4 or $5 a month by signing up with Patreon. See the Black Spy podcast notes or Google Patreon Black Spy podcast and pledge your monthly amount. You can even win the opportunity to be a guest on the show. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to subscribe for free.
My name is Carlton King, and welcome to the Black Spy podcast, the show which shines a light on the world of secret intelligence, national security operations, and armed governmental personal protection. And what we also do is, and probably even more than anything else now these days, we look into geopolitics, be it at the highest level, as we did last week, looking at the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom and what his faults and foibles are and the danger that I believe he presents. And also we can look into other aspects. So when we have guests on, and today is no exception, today's guest is going to be an area that I've always wanted to talk about. We're going to speak about the profession that he was attempting to enter. And it's something that is close to my heart, and I'll explain why as we talk. And I guess it's close to most people's hearts, to be fair. Boys, men, women, and girls these days. So without further ado, I'll ask him to introduce himself. How you doing, Tom?
How you doing, pal? You all right?
I'm very well, my good friend. Introduce yourself to the good people.
Yeah, I'm Tom. I'm from Bury. And yeah,
yeah, it's good.
Go on, sorry.
It's good, mate. No problems. It's just that I just wanted you to throw it on him, throw the old football aspect onto him straight away. Yeah, I'll tell you what he was.
So basically, I was an apprentice at Bolton Wanderers. I got a 2-year scholarship. And at the end of my 2 years, I got told that I wouldn't be kept on.
Right, Tom, we're going to stop you right there. Okay,
yeah.
Because this is the beauty of what tonight's show's about. It's about dealing with expectation, and then dealing with, the fact that the expectation isn't what came to the fore. What actually happened. So disappointment post expectation. So what I want to really do is just kind of set the scene. I want to go back in your time. We've given them that little morsel there, and I want to go back in time. So I'm going to ask you, you're born in Bury?
Yeah, in Fairfield.
In Fairfield. And you were born to a sporting family, or?
Well, I believe that my dad was quite a good player back in the day. I've never actually got the chance to watch him, but a lot of his friends who I speak to now always say he was a good player. So from that side, I'm not sure too much my mum's side because she never really mentions sport or anything like that. But yeah, on my dad's side, I think he was quite sporty.
Now, were you always going to football matches with your old man when you were young?
Yeah, he used to take us to go and watch United all the time. Used to go, well, when we used to get to Wembley. We used to go and watch United quite a lot. I've had a season ticket we've still got it now since I was 12.
Right.
So
your dreams and aspirations, I guess, were what? To play for Manchester United, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah. Always to play for Man United.
Yeah. So just so that the listeners can hear, what sort of era are you? When was your time?
I was around. I think I was at Bolton 2006 to 2008.
So you're the era of the famous United teams.
Yeah.
It was all happening for them.
Oh yeah.
Bolton were Premiership as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's probably when it was Bolton's best ever team then. It was when they had Anelka, all them sort of players.
Yeah, top players. So at the end of the day, basically, you were on that stream. Now I'm going to take you back further, and we'll come back to that over time. But I'm going to take you a little bit back. So you're born Bury. Your dad's a better player than you are, but in that but in that era, it was a little bit different. But you're now being brought up in the 2000, well, let's say the 90s, and you're then coming forward. What made you think that you could make it to be a professional footballer? What did you have that made you think that?
Yeah, I was quite a late developer, to be honest with you. I didn't really have much of an attention span when I was younger, so I used to always be like running off the pitch or this is what I'm told, sat down watching planes and all sorts. So I would say it was about when I got to about 8 and 9. I always played upper year because I was playing with my cousin.
Yeah.
So we were playing with them, and then they always just, from what I gathered, they were all saying he needs to start playing his own age if he wants to get scouted or and whatnot. So I went, but then I ended up playing up again, and I think it was about 12-year-old. I was playing for Seedfield, and
what is that? Seedfield? What is it? Is it
Seedfield Sports Club? It's
right, okay.
just like a sports club up down in Bury. I played for them when I was younger. Actually, I played for Kieran Trippier's dad, and Kieran was in our team.
Oh, right. Trippier.
Yeah. So he went off he went off to City really young. I think he were about 7 or 8.
So I'm just going to say, did you see yourself on a par with Trippier at that stage or not?
Well, to be honest, at that age, you can't really tell, but I think I only played one season with him. But yeah, he went off. So when I started playing, like I said, when I was 12, I was playing upper level, and they said you need to go and I think it were Burnley scout who said he needs to go. Just walked past, said he needs to start playing his own age if he wants to get scouted. So I ended up going to a team called Walsh Sports. So I went to them, and we're playing in a park called Close Park in Ratcliffe, and apparently a United scout walked past, and he got my number off my mum. So we went down for a trial at United. They have like a trial game, and then they asked people to come back. So they asked me to come back. But Walsh Sports were actually a feeder club to Bolton Wanderers.
Right.
So my manager rang Bolton and said, "Listen, there's a lad who United are quite interested in.
So he must be good," type of thing.
Yeah. So I ended up going to Bolton for, I think it were 2 weeks, and before that we got told that United only offered 3-month contracts at that stage.
Yeah.
Whereas Bolton offered me 3 years straight away.
So how old were you now then? So you're coming.
Yeah, I think contractual. 12 or 13, I think I was.
Right. See, this is completely different to how it was, because in my day, I'm playing the old violin. In my day, I was scouted by a side, but by our town team side, 3rd division. And the thing was that at that time, this just picked me to look at, I'd probably be about 14, 15. At that time, I didn't really notice them picking up lads young, very young, like what you're talking about now.
Yeah.
I noticed them picking up more like my age. But unlike you, because by the time you're there, they were looking at, I guess, a radius of 40 miles.
Yeah.
So they'd have been only looking about 40 miles round. So obviously, would it be United? It would be Leeds, maybe. It would be Blackburn, Bolton, Burnley, because in my time, Burnley were a First Division team. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be all of that. And so I thought that my skills weren't necessarily that great. But I guess by the time you're doing it, and then they offered me a contract when I was 16, and I actually turned it down. The old man was over the moon. He thought, yeah. But I turned it down because I thought, well, this is third division, as we were then. What's that, League One?
Yeah.
League One. I thought, you can't make any money. Because in my time, you couldn't make any money. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing the difference for you now is, and this is why I'm saying all of that, when this team picks you up, Bolton Wanderers, or Manchester United even were scouting you, you must have thought, flipping heck, millions of pounds.
Yeah.
Did that sort of come to your mind straight away?
Well, yeah, there was, like I said at the time, well, Man United were probably the best team around at the time, and I think Bolton, when I was 12, I think they just got in the Premier League. They had like Jork AF, and I think they had like, I think it was about the time where Sam Allardyce were just starting to get these free transfers from nowhere sort of thing. He were getting all like World Cup stars, and so it was like, Bolton are like starting to go up. So I thought, I've got like two great teams after me here.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm saying all what I said about me, because there's practically no money in it. You know, I'd have been a boot boy, as they called it in those days.
Yeah.
You come in, you play, you get basic salary. To be fair, just a basic salary. And so that was an easy decision for me. But you say they signed you for 2 years. So already at 12, were they then paying you because they've signed you?
No, there was no payment up until we actually got the scholarship. It was just a 2-year contract, and just basically just play as it was like your Sunday league team sort of thing.
So it's going back a little bit, because I know a guy I knew quite well, Sky Andrews, football agent. I know that they're paying for people at that age now.
Yeah, I have heard that now.
Yeah, they're paying for people at that age. So I wondered if you were the beginning of that. So you were before that, though. So they hadn't started paying. You were before that. But they were still picking you sort of guys up and running you through and trying to get the best out of you, weren't they? So yeah, you must have been thinking to yourself, I can make it here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was it like? You're 12 years of age. You pick United, want you. You choose Bolton. When you go into school, what are you thinking?
Well, as well, when I went to school, they actually pulled us out of school one day a week as well to train. So
incredible.
All my friends were like, "Oh, that's well good. You're getting out of school for a day as well." So it was like, it felt good, to be honest.
Yeah. So were people jealous of you? Were people sort of wanted to be your buddy who didn't want to be your buddy before? Was there any sort of change in how you were perceived?
No, to be honest, there weren't. My school year, for some reason, wasn't very sporty, or none of my friends was really sporty. I don't know why. Honestly, we used to have the worst football team. So I don't think any of them really got it, to be honest.
Right.
So yeah, it was just like, he's off to football, and that were it.
Yeah. So you could have been doing gymnastics or something. They didn't care. Yeah. So interesting. So you move through that. So you're now 12 to 14 because you got the 2-year contract. What happens when you're 14? They still pick you?
Yeah, I think it went like year by year. So they just at the end of every year they sit you down and say, we want to continue with you. We don't want to continue with you. And every year it was, we want to continue with you up until. And
I just going to ask, did you see lads at 12 and 13 who they said we don't want to continue with you with, and did you see what their reactions were like?
To be honest, as well, they didn't really get rid of anyone. I can't really remember. I would say from 12 to 16, I'd say they only probably got rid of about 1 or 2.
Right.
Whilst bringing other lads in. So
and what would that have been? Lack of effort or bad character? Or?
Yeah, generally at that age it was probably attitude.
Yeah.
they turn up and they just want to have a laugh and or be mouthy or cocky, or it was generally that, because at that age you can tell who's better, but still at that age there's not a lot of difference between everyone.
Well, that's an interesting one. You say you say there's, well, there is some difference because you've been picked and you've been seen by two different coaches, basically.
Yeah.
One of them's a United fella, just walked past you. Berry fella's saying, if you don't play at your age group. So that's three coaches basically who've seen you.
Yeah.
So you can't say to me that you didn't have something. So you clearly had something.
No,
I mean, what position?
I would say you have different things, but it's like at that age you're generally the same height. There's not much. I wouldn't say there's a lot of speed difference. Them sort of things. So it's more to do with that. But
so what were you playing? What was your position?
I was I went as a striker, but Sam Allardyce, through the age groups, installed a system where all the age groups had to play the same formation as the first team.
Okay.
So he used to play he would probably want at first to play the 4-3-3.
Mm-hmm.
So you have like three strikers, but you have two wide strikers.
Mm-hmm. For the listeners, just explain that sort of tactic for the people who don't really know football. I've got some people in the States who don't really know football, soccer.
Yeah.
Just explain how that would set that 4-3-3, what it means.
Yeah, so you basically have your keeper, you have your basic back four, then you have a Bolton used to play with a defending midfielder who'd like sit just in front of the back four, with two centre mids just in front who were like quite proactive, get up with the main striker, and then you'd have your three strikers up front, but you'd have a focal point who was in the middle. Then you'd have like a wide left striker and a wide right striker.
Because he used to play like an old-fashioned British sort of centre forward, didn't he?
Yeah, he used to play. His most famous one was Kevin Davies. You can't get more British than Kevin Davies.
Yeah. The old Malcolm McDonald type of bloke. Boom, let's put somebody down, or he was the one like that. I guess you had Clyde Best was like that in the old days. That sort of big heavy sort of fellow who's just boom, he's in there. So. But there was some more refinement to it, because as you're saying now, he's playing with kind of wider players as well at the front who are still strikers.
Yeah.
So whereas in my time when I was playing, because I put me on the wing, it was basically your job was to basically beat the defender who never came past the halfway line, right? You're right back and left back where you were, who never came past the halfway line, to defeat him when he was trying to break your legs, because in those days they hardly ever sent anybody off, and so guys just basically cut you down or try to. You had to learn to jump that tackle and basically just cross the ball. That's really what they wanted you to do. But it became more refined, I think, in your era. So what were they saying to you? Because you were the wide striker, yeah. What were they saying to you?
Yeah, like you just said, you classed it as a winger. They used to class it as a wide striker.
Yeah.
So it was more like they wanted you to be more get more involved. Basically, you was there to score goals and not actually to be assisted. Get down the line and cross.
Yeah.
Say the ball went into the main striker, got set back. You'd be making more runs in the inside.
Yeah.
Than rather be standing out waiting to get the ball to cross it in.
Yeah. So defensive position. Did you go back and defend, or was that not part of the system that they used to play at that time?
With that, but our defensive duties were still more classed as a winger.
Yeah.
So it was basically double up with your full back against the right back and the right winger.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a little bit more, a little bit stronger than it was in my era. That as a winger, you really didn't want to go all the way back. You might go back halfway line as such, maybe a little bit back of there. But your main duty is to be very, very wide. Pick the ball up very, very wide the way they played then, and then sort of go past the defensive elements, your half-backs and your central defender, and your rear defender, and then cross the ball. That was the basics of the duty. Yeah. So what you're saying is it's more like as it is today, you were actually going all the way back and defending.
Yeah, but so basically, it was if their right back crossed the ball in, basically you've not done your job.
Yeah, yeah.
So if he went on the overlap of his right winger, you'd have to be tracking him back all the way.
Gotcha. So the stamina element, as he was playing it, was already in more than it was in my. I happen to be fit. Don't get me wrong, and the guys are relatively fit. But what you're saying is the fitness levels that they have now, where they do 90 minutes up and down the pitch, it's incredible today.
Yeah.
So you were already on that level. You were already doing that type of work in your era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when we were playing, we used to make us wear heart monitors.
Yeah.
And they used to class it as red zone, which is, I think it was well, from what I can remember, I don't know if it was 70 or 80% of your. I think it's you used to do a test at pre-season, and they basically sprint you until you couldn't breathe, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So they could get what your 100% maximum was.
Yes.
And
got you.
They used to put heart monitors on, and you used to have to do a certain amount of minutes in the game over 70% of your maximum.
Because you're not giving the effort.
And if you didn't, then you'd be running in training, you'd be doing all sorts of getting told off, and like maybe sometimes fines and all that. So
this was that they were doing this already with you at age what? What age would you be when they were doing this already? 16?
No, this was as soon as we went through to scholarship.
Right, so you went through the scholarship. And scholarship was you were taking on scholarship at what age?
16.
16, right. So as soon as you're 16. So again, it's relatively young, but mind you could make the full team at 16, 17, couldn't you? So
yeah.
So interesting. So basically, they're building that fitness up all the way through, and bringing you up. And tactically, they're giving you much more tactics than we had. Did they give you any dirty tactics?
No, but I'd say Bolton were the best. Sam Allardyce was the best at dirty tactics, weren't he? So, but I never got told any personally.
I'll tell you why, because when we were doing it, they had like one whereby you go, and when you had a corner, even as a winger, you come back for the corner, obviously, right? Because then it's a set piece, so people are set up, so you come back for the corner. And what he used to say is, I'm trying to remember who the manager was at the time. He used to say, right, when you go up for the header, right, come down with your elbow on a fella's side, right, like he's on his shock absorber. Right?
Yeah.
So the fella can't run then for the next time. So they're doing all that sort of stuff, and obviously banging people's heads and all that sort of business, because the balls are big and heavy and all that. So and kick people. We as wingers weren't doing that, but the defenders were taught, to kick people, kick it. So I wondered if still had, because Sam was on that all time. I wonder if he still had a little bit of that. Was the game too good? Too many cameras about? Too good that you couldn't?
Yeah, it was just about that time where they started. The cameras started coming along. So saying that, VAR weren't there. He did. I always remember when they used to do corners. He used to get all these big men in the middle, and he used to have someone run from the back post, but play. So basically, the ball would be coming in near post, and he used to get a guy who'd start on the back post, run to the front, but run basically right in the way where they say it was like Kevin Davies was going to run into, and he'd run right in his space to block his attacker.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So basically, he'd block the attacker. Kevin Davies would have a free run, and and then nod it in, and then they'd all be going crackers. But it wasn't the time of VAR, and the ref wouldn't hit because there was so much commotion going on.
Yeah, so much happening. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, incredible. Yeah, great. So you've now made it to the academy. So you clearly now think you've made it.
Yeah, well, to be fair, the last season, which was, I think, it would have been under 16s, I actually got player of the season as well.
Right, you've made it.
So I was thinking, I've got a good chance here, because there was some good players in my year. We had Danny Ward. He's gone on to play for Huddersfield and in the Premiership and Cardiff, I think. And then there's probably the most notable one in my year was Aaron Moy, who's played for Huddersfield in Premiership, and he's an Australian international still right now. So it was quite.
So when you were growing up, when you were seeing the other lads, the first team lads initially, what were you thinking about? What was that like, seeing those guys?
God, it was scary. I didn't actually realise how big they were, because obviously, especially with Sam Allardyce, he did like his big plays, but some of them like Kevin Davis and Kevin Nolan, and then he used to have his Ivan Campo. They were just absolutely massive, and I thought, and I'm not tall. I'm only 5'8", 5'7". I think when they measured me, I was 5'7.5", but they were just humongous. Yeah. And I just thought,
did that frighten you? Did you think that you won't? Did you think I won't make it because I'm not as tall as these fellas? I mean, that was his style, wasn't it? His style was big guys, oftentimes, who could handle themselves, who could put themselves about a bit. Did you figure that might be a problem for you?
I never actually thought at the time, but he used to have Stelios. He used to play. He was like that Greek winger, and he was brilliant.
Ah, yeah. I remember.
And he was smaller than me.
Right.
He must have been 5 foot. I would imagine he was about 5'5", and he was probably one of the best players at the time. So I always thought maybe, and he played in my position as well.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I thought, well, you've got if you're good enough, you've got a chance, sort of thing.
Yeah. So you're going through, you're a young fella, you've at school, you've been signed up, it's all happening. Is school now different for you? Are people now saying, hey, mate, how are you, mate? Are they now wanting your autograph? Are they now wanting...
No, to be honest, like I said, I never really ever got that feeling from anyone. I don't know why. He was always just the same, to be honest. But when I signed a scholarship, I didn't really see anyone because we had to move into digs.
Right. Okay. So I got you. So this is the era where they do your schooling for you, etc., etc.
Yeah, we move into houses that were all around. They were all generally around the Reebok Stadium.
Yeah.
So we'd move in with a family. They'd look after us, and then we'd go to Preston College once a week.
So just explain again to the listeners, what is training like when you're doing that? What's your routine? You get up, what do you do? What you doing all day?
So we'd get a text from the bus drivers the night before what time they'd get us. So we'd make sure we're out 10 minutes before, because if we weren't there, they'd just drive off and we'd be in all sorts of trouble. So we'd get on the coach, we'd get in, and they had a cafeteria. So we go in, have our breakfast. They'd put all the breakfast on, then get in. We'd do.
Sorry, can I ask what sort of things you're eating? Because now it's becoming, at that stage, they're actually beginning to look at diet, aren't they, as well? So what were you eating?
Well, generally in the morning it was just like toast, jam, and cereals. Just like fuel food sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And then at dinner times, you used to put on like chicken. To be fair, it was really good then. To be fair, they'd do like salmon, chicken, steaks, pastas. So yeah, they were. To be fair, their cafeteria were bang on. To be fair,
brilliant. So you got your own chefs there and everything. And do they look at an individual and say, well, you need this type of food more, or you need that type of food more, or was it not as individualistic, or is that only for the first team?
Well, we used to have they called it the fat test every month. So we'd all know what we'd eat. I think they wanted you at 12% body fat. So if you were borderlining on it, you had to watch what you were eating and whatnot. But yeah, they generally give us free rein. Like basically, it's up to you. You've got to be professional, and if you're not, then they'll. The ones who were always overweight used to have to do extra runs and come in an hour early and go on the bike an hour before training or stuff like that, just to get down to 12%.
And do you think that you were, at your 16, you're now being paid for one, so you're now a professional, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you take that on board and think, I'm a professional player now, I've really got to think what I'm doing? Or were you kind of lackadaisical? What was your position?
No, I would say I was quite professional, to be fair, because I always used to eat healthy. I never really drank until I got released. I used to have a bottle here, bottle there, but I never really went out, to be honest. But yeah, I would say I was quite professional. So
interesting. So, and you give away that you've been released, but yeah, let's go with that. So,
all right.
it matters not because we're working our way through. So up to now, you're getting paid, and you're getting paid, I guess, quite a decent wage for your age in comparison to other people, or not?
No, it wasn't. It was, I think it was £180 a week, which at my age, well, at 16, yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was
in
like
comparison to others. Yeah.
Yeah, and then plus we used to have, like I said, you get all your meals free with your families that you live with, all your meals free at training. So really, and like you said, I didn't really go out or anything, so all that money was just basically staying in the bank. So yeah, it was quite good, to be fair.
Yeah. So your dreams are you seeing the first team guys? Is anybody standing out? Is anybody saying, listen, kid, you might want to do this? Are you making relations with any, or are they just too far above you?
No, we used to train at the first team base, and we were literally on. So we used to eat in the same cafeteria as the first team. We were on the next pitch to the first team. We'd be in the gym with the first team, so we was always around them.
So did you make any relationship? Was any players outstanding saying, I like this fella, I'll give him a few tips, or was there anybody that you could see who was doing that or not?
There was the main friendly ones were. Remember Ricardo Gardner?
Yeah.
The left back. Yeah. He was always talking to us, giving us tips. Always remember Quinton Fortune when he come.
Fortune, yeah.
Yeah, he was great. He used to just always come and sit with us, ask how we're doing. Have we played this weekend? Where are you playing? I'll try and get down and watch. Nicky Hunt, he was another one. He was like a local lad.
Yeah, made good. Yeah.
Elash Jufi were great. He was just like the Joker boy. Or just like
yeah, I can see Jufi now actually. Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
But yeah, there was only, I would say there's only Ivan Campo was good as well. He was another Joker.
Yeah.
But I would say there were only like 5 or 6 that really had a genuine interest. They'd always say hi and bye and whatnot, but yeah, about 5 or 6 that had a genuine interest, asking how you are and how have you been playing and what are you playing, sort of thing.
Was there anybody who you thought might be frightened for their position that you might take them? Was anybody like that?
No, I don't think so, to be honest. No.
Because obviously they're living well. They don't want you to take their living. They might want to help you out, but they don't want to take your living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I never got that feeling, to be honest.
No, never got that. Brilliant. So there you are. It's all going the way you'd like it. You're putting the effort in. You're not one of these guys who lets it fall away because you fall for girls or whatever else it might be. You are putting it out there. What happens?
So we'd be playing under 18s games most Saturday mornings, which about 11 o'clock. Exactly the same teams as what the Premier League table would be.
Mm-hmm. And
then you'd have reserve games, which were generally either a Tuesday or a Wednesday night, which was like basically probably the best players. We used to have like the scholars from 16 to 18, and then you'd have your third year scholars, which would be like 18 to 19, and your young pros. And so basically the reserves were probably the players that have not played for the first team and need the minutes, and then your young pros and the better the younger ones.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, coming in from 16s, you're only really playing the 18s unless you was, like they were trying to, you was like not a superstar, but one of the best.
You're going there. Yeah.
You kind of on your way sort of thing. So that was generally, so we were all playing under 18s there at the time. That mainly, towards the back end of this first season, we all started actually creeping into the reserve team because of basically they didn't put many first teamers in for a while, so we all ended up playing reserves.
So why was that? Why did they not put many first teamers in?
When Sam Allardyce were, he didn't actually have a massive squad.
Gotcha. Okay, so the squad wasn't big enough.
Yeah,
I'm
so
with you now.
I think Sam Allardyce was one of them who only liked about 18 players, and that were it. You know.
Yeah.
So we ended up playing quite a lot of reserve games, which were brilliant because every week you'd end up playing. Like I said, you'd have like 6 or 7 players who you'd be seeing the week before on Sky Sports.
Yes.
So you'd end up be playing against them. Yeah. So it was great at the time.
So it could be you'd be playing against your Manchester United heroes who were just, who'd been injured and were trying to make their way back through.
Yeah. Well, I always remember playing against United because I think they had like Alan Smith. Alan Smith, Louis Saha. I think Tom Cleverley and Danny Drinkwater was coming through then. I think Ryan Shawcross, who was at Stoke, he was playing. So there was quite a few, yeah. So it was obviously being a United fan and seeing Saha and Smith up front. It was class.
and did you ever think that? Did you think that another team might come in for you? Even whilst you were still making your way up. Obviously, because there's possibilities for that. Did you think that might be the case?
Not really. As soon as you got back in them days, it wasn't really like now. You see on Sky Sports, don't you, where they're actually paying money for 14, 15, 16-year-olds all the time now.
Absolutely.
So they're paying like millions, aren't they? Like just for 14, 15-year-olds. But back then it was usually if you were breaking into first team or you just got into the first team.
So you like Rooney, who broke in very early.
Yeah, like Rooney or there was actually a lad who was like Danny Ward, who I mentioned before, and they bought him for $1 million from Leeds.
Right.
And he was only 16.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's really, I didn't really aim anything, to be honest with you.
So your dreams were, I'm going to play for Bolton Wanderers. They're a good side. They've got a well-known manager. It's all going up here. It's all, it's kicking for me. It's going to happen. What does happen then that changes that?
Well, the first year, I thought, it went pretty good, to be honest. Because, like I said,
Player of the Year, as you said, yeah.
Well, that was just before scholarship. That was as I was going into scholarship. But the first year, I think I was top goal scorer in the under 18s. I think I got about 14. And I thought I had a good year. I played, like I said, playing in the reserves and playing against, and not really. I wouldn't say I ever felt out of depth.
Yeah.
And then we come back to the next year. So the second, you're coming towards the back end of your second year, and I think, like they said, they basically just have to make a decision where are you in the next couple, because in that age as well, it was like now they have the under 23s in clubs, so they give them a lot more time, don't you, to if you're a late bloomer or whatnot. But back then it was basically you get to 18, are they going to get in the first team? No, right, we'll release them. So I think that was just based on am I going to get in the first team? No. Well, we're going.
But you'd scored loads of goals. Relative for a winger, relatively load of goals. I know you're not. I know the modern day, but you that's quite a few goals nevertheless. Yeah.
Yeah.
You clearly had something. So why was it that you think that you're not going to make the team maybe directly, but surely there's always a need for a player gets injured particularly in your position, and you need an understudy for the player who sits in your position for the other guy, because there's always three, isn't there?
Yeah.
So did they never think that way? I know, as you said, they had a small squad, but did you never think that way? Was that?
I just started to get I would say the last, because they tell you about 3 months before your contract's up, and I think that's so you can basically, start trying to get trials and
Yes.
So I probably got a feeling about 5 months towards the end that they stopped. So like the players that got released, they stopped like putting you in reserves and stuff like that. So you kind of got like you'd miss out and someone else being, you'd be like, oh, that's not good.
So where were these other people coming from, though? Who was in your position that they were putting in place? Are these the lads who were just below you, or?
Well, there was a lad who they got from Birmingham. They bought for $1 million. He was my age. They got a young pro from the USA. And he was a young pro, and he was just starting to get into the first team, so he was playing in my position as well. So I kind of had an inkling, to be honest. Like I said, about 5 months before I were getting released, that maybe it's not going to happen.
So can I ask you this question then? You saw them buy this guy from the States.
Yeah.
You saw them get this other guy. What's your stomach like? Are you feeling actual dread because you see this happening, or?
Well, the lad was 2 years older than me, and so when I come to the scholarship, he was already here.
Right.
But he wasn't actually great technically, but he was absolutely rapid, unbelievably fast.
Yeah.
So I think it was just basically if we can work on his technique, he could be somewhat special, and he did actually end up playing a couple of games for the first team.
Right.
So, but I couldn't tell you where he's playing now. I've not heard. He's not got into the leagues or anything in England or anything. I don't know if he's gone back to maybe the MLS or whatnot. But yeah.
And what about the other lad who came from Birmingham? How was he?
Yeah. I got on with him great. He come on. He was called Temitope Obadei, and he ended up he played about 2 first games for Bolton, and then he's still playing now. Actually, I think he was at Oldham last season.
Right. Okay.
So, but he was similar to the American lad, not great technically, but he did have a bit more. I would say he had a bit more about him. He was playing for England, but he was unbelievably rapid.
What age group was he playing for England? What was he?
I think he played all the way up to the 20s.
Right. So he's capable then.
Yeah. To be fair, with the American, you used to think, wow, he's really fast. Whereas when Toppy used to play, sometimes you used to think, wow, he's actually got something here.
Yeah.
So he ended up getting the first team.
What's that make you feel like?
Well, with me, I would say I was fast over 10 yards, but I wouldn't say I was like rapid. I wouldn't say I were, because I was small. I didn't really have a unique thing that made me stood out, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so it was probably when someone's really fast, or if someone's really big, or something like that, they can quite stand out quite easy. Whereas me, I had to like work really hard to make myself stand out.
And you did work hard, yeah?
Oh yeah. I'd probably one of best engines in the club, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So now I ask the other question, because you work hard, you know the system, you've run through it. Technically, you understand it because you've been taught it. So you're rapid over 10 yards, which, by the way, in my era was probably sufficient. Definitely in Stanley Matthews' era, it was sufficient. No, what Stanley Matthews said is space makes pace, and pace is space, and he only meant that over maximum, and I mean maximum 10 meters. Right, that's what he meant that over, because you just need to get away. That initial bit of getting you away was sufficient. I know it's different now, because ball to feet in my time was like that ball going 10 meters ahead of you max. Now it's like 50, so there's a big difference now. But in that era, you were still kind of not at that full as they are now, but still. So I would have thought this is my question. I would have thought to myself, okay, so you figure you're going down this line, why did you not try for other clubs lower down, maybe?
Yeah, well, when I got released, to be fair, Bolton they didn't get you trials anywhere, but they had when we were in the under-18s, we had our own videographer
Okay.
who used to put all your, like, after every game. It was generally on the Monday. We'd go into the cinema room and they'd go through all the points, like where you were wrong on the goal and this was good and that was good, sort of thing. So he actually put like a CD together with all your best clips.
Yeah.
That you could send, and they give you all the CDs and you can try and send them out to clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got released, it was basically up to my bedroom, ring every club going, trying to get through. But I didn't have an agent or anything, so it was basically you're ringing up the club and you're getting through to just like front desk. Then
you can't get through the you can't.
You're
get through
trying
the,
to ask for the manager and they're saying who is it, and like, no, I can't put you through. So where can I send this CD? Oh well, if you send it here, we'll try and pass it on. And most of the time it didn't. So then I resorted to the local area. So I'd go down. I'd actually go down to the stadium and try and catch someone. I'd go and pass them to the main desk. I went down to Bury, Rochdale, Oldham. Actually just going down and passing them into the stadium or got training grounds, but just didn't hear anything, to be honest.
See, I would have thought that, I'm not being funny, but I would have thought that you'd have been good enough for Rochdale, Bury, third division, both them in the old days.
Yeah.
League One, League Two, even. I would have thought you'd have been sufficient for them. No.
Yeah, so did I, but I don't know if it was because on your CV you've got to put all your info. Now I don't know if it was something to do with my height, maybe. When they're reading it, they're looking and he's 5'7" or around there, and I don't know if they've just gone, nah, that's not what we're looking for. Because back then it was still a bit like, oh, you've got to be big. Like nowadays they're all just small and technically gifted if you're good enough. Yeah. The amount of small players that play now is unbelievable compared to what it used to be like. So I don't know if it was something like that or they just go through people who've got your agent or so yeah.
I think it's two things. I think as I said, knowing Sky and talking with him and talking with the guys who work for him, three of the guys who had all been released. So I'll tell you what they said to me. One guy, they said, this guy here played for Arsenal. He was basically the second Pele, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knew him. He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He said, and he got released. And he kind of said, I don't want to play anything, that his attitude wasn't right.
Yeah.
Okay, so what he said, his attitude wasn't right. But when he was released, this is under Arsene Wenger, of course, so very strict. So for some other person, he might have been okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
When he got released, what happened was the fact that he was that good made managers think there must be something wrong with him. Did you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Funny thing. There must be something wrong with him because he was that good. Now, the other guy who played for, I think he said he played for Leyton Orient or someone like that, put his hands up. He said, I'm a workaday player. I was okay, workaday player. His thing was that he played a bit for the team, like, first team, blah, 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 did a bit. But he himself knew that he wasn't setting the world on fire, but he was a good workaday player. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he actually had opportunities because what was happening is because he wasn't outstanding, so they didn't think, oh, well, they just thought he must work hard, this guy. So he had some possibilities. And another fella who played in the Irish, from Southern Ireland, good player, as he said, but he kind of said to me that he didn't have, because he's playing in the old Irish League, just an Irish lad playing in the old Irish League, good enough, came across, wanted to make it properly, but he didn't have any credentials, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They looked at him and thought, well, So he may have been better than what they think he was. So there's a lot of things going for people now. What the whole thing was, and all these guys are working for Sky. The whole thing was, if you had Sky as your manager there, your agent, you probably would have got a trial at each one of them.
Yeah, because
that was the main key, as I understood it. The agent, if you got that agent, he could get you in the door.
Yeah, because the agents build bonds, don't they, with different clubs?
Correct.
So it'd be like, I've got a player, can he? Bring him down for 2 weeks, sort of thing.
Correct. Bring him. I'll have a look at him, even if it's just I'll have a look. What you got? Yeah, I'll have a look at him. I'll do you a favour. I'll have a look at him because, of course, he's bringing to him another player whom he definitely wants.
Yeah.
And there's 2 or 3 others going in for him.
Exactly.
So I'll have a look at this guy. Yeah, I'll have a look at him. So your agent can do a hell of a lot for you. And unfortunately, what I can't understand is why you didn't have an agent. Did you not seek one out, or what?
Well, these days, the lads from like 16, they all have agents, don't they? Straight away.
Correct. That's why they get the money straight away.
Yeah, but there was no one who had agents, to be honest. Only the ones that were probably the ones that got bought or was pros, but none of us had agents at all.
So you're still like the old-fashioned times, like
it was. Yeah. So it was just basically fend for yourself, sort of go out and try and make something work.
Yeah, that's interesting. Did you never think international?
No, not really. I've not really got. I'm only got English on my side. My great grand were Welsh, but that was it really.
But what I'm thinking, did you never think to say, you know what? I'll go to Holland. I'll go to Germany. I'll go to France.
To play.
To play.
Yeah.
Did you never think it? Did you never think international?
When we got released, there was actually they were asking for us to go and play in Cyprus.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, I just didn't. I'm quite a homey person, me. I don't like venturing out from my area, so I just said it's not for me. But one of the lads ended up going out. He ended up playing in Cyprus, and then I think they're called. I can't remember what they're called in Cyprus. He ended up playing in Champions League.
There you go. Got picked up.
Yeah.
Too few English players do that, albeit it's beginning to change now.
Yeah.
I was at this thing, a thing called Football for Peace. It was quite a big presentation, and it was run by the Jordanian royal family and I can't remember which one of the royals here in Britain, and it's basically Football for Peace, and they get money and help people out and all the rest of it. So on the table I was on was with 4 or 5 other lads, and one of the lads had gone out to Spain, to Valencia. He'd been released in the United Kingdom, went out to Valencia, and he was saying, that willingness to go out means a hell of a lot. It's difficult because you don't have the language or anything like that, but you go out, and that opens up a lot of doors for him. He had doors opened for him because he did that, released in Britain, but had doors open for him there. And then what he said was that the problem. This is now, when was that? When was last at that? 2018, something like that. The problem now is that if you make it in the UK Premier League, Championship, not maybe as far as League One, but Championship, you can sit on the bench even and make more than you can in the first team, not in La Liga, but in, say, Holland, Denmark, used to be even Germany, actually. Yeah, you could make more sitting on the bench. So a lot of lads would make a decision, I'll just sit on the bench then.
Yeah.
And not take that opportunity to build. You now see the lads doing that because they're all doing it now, particularly going to Germany. They're not sitting on the bench, they're going out there playing, and then they're being brought back to the UK. But that wasn't done. So maybe that you were just, unfortunately, at an era when you weren't, people weren't really doing that. Maybe that was problematic.
Yeah. Because I always remember when we were at Bolton, they used to send you out all the bonuses that you'd be getting, you know, if you got into the first team.
Mm-hmm.
And if some of the younger lads get into the squad, you'd get a $3,000 bonus just for being in the match day squad.
Yeah.
So even that was 2000 and like I said, 2006, 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
Even just that, $3,000 just to be in the match day squad, because you could just, that was like 18, so two of you would be sat just in the stands. If anyone got injured, you'd be called onto the bench.
Yeah.
You used to get $3,000. So
it's all right, innit? It's all right. Innit? Yeah.
So God knows what they were getting actually playing as well.
So you were holding out for that, and yeah. I mean, any regrets that you went down the football path?
I wouldn't say regrets, because like I said, I thought I was quite professional. I like I said, I lived away. I never really got involved in any going out, or they used to let you go back at weekends, and I never really, they give you a curfew of I think it was 12 o'clock you had to be home at the weekends, and I always made sure I was home. You know, I'd like, if my mates were going out, I'd just go out for one and then I'd go home. So I feel like I was quite professional, so I wouldn't say there would be any regrets that stand out, but no, not really, to be honest.
So you're happy you went down the football path? It's just one of those things that you didn't quite make it.
No, and even though I didn't make it at Bolton, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was brilliant. It's probably the best time of my life.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. It's like you're getting up and you're playing football with 15 of your mates every single day, and you get paid for it. It's nothing better.
Where did you go after? Because obviously you put all these CDs out. You did all this. You even went to the actual stadia of lower leagues and said, "Listen, here I am." How long did it take before you thought, "I'm just not going to make it"?
Yeah, so I think we got released in about June. So I was doing it for about 3 months, and I just thought, God, what am I going to do here? And then the lad's dad knew. I ended up just dropping into semi-pro football for Ratcliffe Borough, which was owned by Bernard Manning.
Oh, okay.
The comedian.
Yeah, I know Bernard. I know him. Don't worry about that.
Yes. Well, it was owned by his son now because he'd passed away. But we ended up playing there with. They had a few professionals play there. Chris Makin, who played for Sunderland.
Yeah.
A couple that had played for Bury.
Mm-hmm.
And ended up playing there for, I think it was 6 years. So it was, and then played at Ramsbottom United, which were in the same year, for another 4.
So at the end of the day, you still had the game in your bones, and you were still playing. You just couldn't break into the fully professional game. And again, I would have thought Burnley would have been something you could have broken into, you know.
Yeah. In my mum always says it to me, in hindsight, maybe we should have gone somewhere, you know, a bit lower, a bit localer.
Yeah.
And you might have got the opportunity to, you know, maybe just to even get the chance in the first team, you know, coming on as sub or breaking in from your
so what your mum's saying, in the beginning you should have taken that on.
Yeah,
you
maybe when
Burnley in the beginning or whatever. Yeah.
Bolton, maybe just gone around to them clubs and say, listen, he's been offered a scholarship at Bolton. But it's all in hindsight.
Hindsight, yeah. Well, the other version is you could have gone to United for 3 months, and because they trained you in a different way and saw a different thing, maybe they'd have picked you up.
Yeah, that's enough.
You just don't know, because at the end of the day, it's all subjective, isn't it? It's not really objective, is it? Football.
No, yeah.
It's just what somebody thinks. It's just subjective.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, you can look at it that way as well. Yeah, because obviously United might have played a different style, or
exactly
maybe like you're about. Because like I said, I was small. I was a winger, and I always think, and I was always good at the defensive duties, and I always think, would have been better. Like again, in hindsight, would have been better if I got the right training as like an attacking fullback, because they're all quite small, aren't they? Quite small.
Yeah.
I was like I said, I was quite nippy over 10 yards. So if a winger tried taking me on, I always had the 10 yards before. I was always probably just as fast as anyone over 10 yards before they got into the full stride. So if they tried taking me on, there's only 10 yards anyway. So
yeah.
I was that's another one in hindsight. But
or even a midfield player, whereas now that midfield player is up and down the pitch. He's all around. You said you had a fantastic engine. That's what these guys need, a fantastic engine. Maybe that would have been your, just drop back one rather than dropping back two, just drop back one. Maybe that would have been your forte.
Well, that's why I ended up playing in semi-professional when I was.
Right. Okay.
That's why he seen me and said, "Nah, you're going to start playing centre mid," and I've just played centre mid all the way through till now. Even playing these days, playing centre mid.
Yeah. So maybe if you were taking that on earlier on, that might have been where you'd have made it. That might have been because that midfield guy with that sort of engine, he's not to a penny. That might have been your USP, the unique aspect that you had going for you. That might have been what you required just to play that midfield, because they're not necessarily that big. I know there are some, but you can have the smaller guy, your Conte type guy, and what he's known for is just breaking it up and making it happen and getting backwards and forwards quickly. And you need a big engine on you for that. There's no doubt about that. You need to have. So it's interesting. The game is one of those things which, had it not been Sam there, it'd have been somebody else. They might have said, "Oh, I love this bloke. We'll have him."
It's true. People have different preferences, don't they? And you always, because also another one was when Sam Allardyce actually left. When we were at the first season, it was Sam Allardyce, and he, like I said, he used to only have quite a small squad, so all of us were getting the chance in the reserves. And Sam Allardyce actually left that season to go Newcastle.
Right, yeah.
And then they brought in Gary Megson.
Oh, Megson, yeah.
Yeah, they brought in Gary Megson, and he instantly signed about 10 players, but they all never got rid of anyone. So then in the reserves, you used to have players like Heider Helgeson.
Yeah.
And he was just playing reserves. He was getting nowhere near the first team. So it was like, we've got no chance. And he ended up playing for Fulham and all them in the Premiership.
Yeah.
So that's another one that different managers have different ideas.
Actually, had Sam have stayed, might have done you a favour. Rather than Sam leaving, had he have stayed, might have had the favour.
He might have not changed things, but I think it maybe would have given me another year to try and maybe establish myself. But I don't think maybe would have changed, to be honest. If I'm being truly honest.
Yeah. Well, you're a braver man than me because, my old man was a professional sportsman originally, and I know what it's like to be a professional sportsman who's got to basically look after his family, and that the years are always ticking away. Now, he wasn't in football; he was in the cricket game, where there was no money to start off with anyway. But the years are ticking away, and you can only cheat those years for so long. So I guess what I did is, when I was offered for that third division club, my team, and playing in the reserves, and then offered the first team, I guess what I did is calculated it as per my old man and said, I could break my leg on this first day, because as I said to you, there was no pretense. The manager of the other team used to shout, "Break that, legs, break his bloody. If he gets past you again, you haven't brought his bloody legs."
Yeah.
and they weren't kidding in those days. So I was thinking to myself, if I lose this, that's me done. So I took the easy way out, what I thought would be the easy way, and I said, "Well, I'll be a PE teacher. I'll stay on at school and be a PE teacher." So that was my sort of. I didn't have your conviction. I didn't, push it and see where it might have gone. So I can only take my hat off to you, because what I'd like to end on is just asking you, how many of the lads who got chosen, got the scholarships, got through, how many of them actually ended up being a full-time pro?
So with the probably the first year, so there's probably about 30 of us, I'd say, over like the first year, second year, and third, because he did offer third years as well, but they'd only offer them to probably the ones that they actually thought they made. So say there was about 30, and I reckon there's probably 3 that I know of.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's
so
just
it's
massive wastage, isn't there?
Yeah,
I mean, and they're playing with people's lives, aren't they?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to break through. Like they say, I think that is the actual statistic that only 10% actually make it.
I think you're right.
From scholarship. So yeah, it's tough.
And let's face it, sport is a true professionalism. I mean, you can be a poor doctor, a crap lawyer, absolutely terrible lawyer. You can be, poor, but in sport, you just can't, can you? There's no hiding, is there? Everyone's
watching you.
Everybody's watching, yeah. And everybody's got an opinion.
Yeah.
And everybody could do it better if they were doing it. So there's no hiding place, and that's the thing. So it's been interesting, actually. It's been fantastic to get your feel, because I'm pretty sure that there are, 10 million kids out there right now thinking they're going to be what you are. And even if they got to where you were, they'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
Literally, they'd be over the moon. I mean, and the way I see it now, you tell me if I'm wrong, the competition now. I mean, when they looked at me, I always say this, when they looked at me, they were looking in, as I said, a radius of 30 miles or something like that. Now, when I look at those teams around us, Burnley, Burys, your Rochdales, your Oldhams, all these sort of used to be third division teams, these guys, they're people from all over the world. Yeah. You've got Africans, South Americans, you've got from all over the world, Chinese, all over the world. So your chances now of even getting into those teams at that level is super slight.
Oh yeah, it is. They're just getting them for everywhere, all ages, all over the world. So it's. I would say it must be harder even more now these days than even my time. So. Yeah, it must be tough now.
Yeah, super tough.
Yeah.
So listen, mate, fantastic, Tom. You are the fella who lived his dream for a while. Unfortunately, you didn't make it all the way to the top, but you did put yourself out. More than many, I got to tell you that. Scaredy Cat here is one of them who didn't. Who didn't go down the route. So and you enjoyed it, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I can genuinely say it was. I don't even look back on it as sadness. I can genuinely say it was probably the best 2 years of my life.
Brilliant.
So yeah, it was great.
Well, listen, mate, thank you very much. I've been trying to get football on forever and a day. He's a football Premier League manager who says he's my mate and he's going to come on. But, I've been trying to grab him forever and a day and he hasn't. But we'll see if I can get, because I'd like to look at the manager's perspective, because, they've got their own struggles. So if you're listening, I'll not say his name, but if you're listening, I'm still wanting you on the show. So if I can, that'd be great. But it's good to hear from a chap who's put himself out, tried to make it, worked hard. So you're not one of these guys who was thrown out because you were a clown or whatever. You weren't doing what you needed to do. You're a fellow who put yourself out. And unfortunately, the way it just landed, you just didn't get it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Tom, thanks very much, mate.
No, cheers for having me on. I've enjoyed it.
It's been brilliant, mate. It's been brilliant. And I'll have to stop now, because normally I'm trying to do like 35, 45 minutes and we've gone to an hour and 10. So, yeah, fantastic. I could keep going with you, mate, but we'll call it a day. Thanks very much, Tom, and we'll see you again, good buddy.
No worries. Cheers. Take care.
Yeah, all the best, mate.
Cheers, pal. Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to help Carlton keep producing the Black Spy podcast and receive episodes and information that's only available to Carlton's special Patreon agents, then you can donate as little as £3, €4 or $5 a month by signing up with Patreon. See the Black Spy podcast notes or Google Patreon Black Spy podcast and pledge your monthly amount. You can even win the opportunity to be a guest on the show. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for free.
Here is a working class spy telling his stories, the secrets, the lives of spies. Feel free to message Carlton King on all socials and give this show 5 stars on Apple iTunes and subscribe so you never miss a single episode. For your ears only.
I was a member of Her Majesty's Secret Intelligence.